Welcome to SIPAcon 2008. I am Mateen Syed. I have the pleasure of welcoming Ashwin Rangan. He is the Chief Information Technology Officer for Market Share Partners. Ashwin, welcome.
Thank you.
You've played very important roles, but before I go to Walmart.com, I'll talk to you about the current role and what how the economy is impacting what you do now.
Well, it's an interesting question because Market Share Partners is a numerati firm. In other words, we look at macroeconomic data as much as we do companies' own performance data and try to help these companies better understand how to take advantage of current situation, whether it's a down market like it is right now or an up market as sometimes it is. It's our experience that in a down market, share gains that are taken during a down market are substantially more sustainable and defensible as compared to share gains during an up market. And the reason for that is during a down market, the buyer is looking for real value. So if you're able to deliver real value as opposed to just hooey and whatever else, that real value has significantly greater stickiness as compared to just a rising tide that takes up your boat along with everybody else's boat. And having a numerati base as we do with econometrics at the base of it is helpful in that the theories that we put forth and the experiments that we do for our clients, they can prove with no uncertainty that the methods that we're proposing are in fact working methods and practicable methods even after we leave. So we leave behind tools and techniques, and all of that is helpful for the client that eventually looks at this and says, this is a means for me to take share and be really aggressive and legitimate about taking the share and becoming you want to provide services that are irrefutable, absolutely necessary, and really good.
Before I ask you about the macroeconomic view for the current condition, I want to take you back to Walmart.com. A lot of people are interested about that.
Sure.
So can you share a bit about your experience at Walmart.com and then transition from there to the next level?
Certainly. Walmart is it's the #1 company in the world in terms of revenues. As an employer, it's the largest employer in the private sector, so to speak. It's perhaps one of the most interesting stories in the world, from a very relatively humble beginning in the Mid-South. It has become the world's juggernaut in retailing. Walmart.com is a fantastic channel for Walmart. It's fantastic because there is a strong overlap between the customer base that shops the brand offline and the customer base that shops the brand online. In fact, it's true of certain categories of merchandise more so than others. It is the case that if you look at electronics, for instance, it's an information-intensive merchandise category where there is a need for a lot of information that is difficult to obtain when you walk into a store. The .com channel acts as the entry edge of the wedge, and the store really becomes the fulfillment center. It is the case that most customers who buy electronics in a Walmart store will have researched the product online, arrived at a decision online, and they're just walking into the store to fulfill their decision. So the store is really a fulfillment mechanism. It's not really a merchandise location even. So for all the difference it makes if it were a warehouse instead of a store, the customer would still walk into a warehouse called Walmart and buy the goods that they're looking for.
Very interesting. How much do you think this particular channel helped capture the market share? Was there an increase, do you think, from the earlier revenues to ones after we had the Walmart.com model?
That's a more difficult question to answer. It can be disentangled if a really stringent sort of experiment is carried out. But I think the way to look at it is not how much additional share was captured, but to look at how much additional revenue might have been lost had the online channel not existed. If you look at the channel as a competitor to the store, the contribution of the online channel is relatively modest. It's, it is comparing itself to a $300 billion juggernaut. So as a percent of revenue, it would be an inappropriate measure for the online channel. So it's not the incremental revenue contribution of the channel as much as it is helping the shopper make more informed decisions and providing an always available touch point on the consumer's terms. So if the consumer wants to research a product that's available through Walmart, the ability to do that 7/24 in a cyber environment is a compelling advantage that the .com provides.
As immigrants, Indians or Asians in general, or Eastern Europeans, when they come here, they come from backgrounds where they are, I don't know if I should say, used to living through. And that has helped them save for harsher times. And they seem to ride the wave a little better. So if you go back to India now and look at the younger generation, they will feel the pinch a lot more than their parent generation. You're seeing the tougher times and the better times. What is your advice to the younger generation and professionals who are feeling the brunt of it?
I think cyclicality in the market has been repeatedly tested. There is a false feeling of security in a global environment where one tends to start thinking that the only way is upward and to the right. If anything, I think the current downturn has proven that globality, to coin a new phrase here, comes with unexpected dangers where unintended consequences can in fact come tripping one after the other, leading to downs that we have not seen previously, therefore testing the limits of historically available tools to deal with the downturns. It is not a case of incapable individuals at the helm today, but it is the case that we are seeing impacts that are historic in their first timeliness. No one has dealt with the kind of globality that we're dealing with in the financial turmoil. So much so that people like Bernanke and Hank Paulson, or perhaps two of the best people that can be in the right place at the right time, are themselves stretched to the limit. History has shown that, J.P. Morgan 100 years ago did exactly what these gentlemen are doing in a different market, where single-handedly pulled the entire market out from a possible downturn by creating a coalition of bankers who were willing to stand behind a possible run on the market. New techniques and new tools emerge as you go through such downturns. What is shaking us today is the fact that there is no safe harbor. Everything looks scary. For the youngsters, it appeared that up and to the right was an entitlement. There is no entitlement. If anything, this should be teaching a lesson to our youngsters that all of us are vulnerable, there will be rainy days, and it is prudence that should inform you to save for a rainy day. I mean, if I think of myself as a relatively older person compared to the current generation, yes, to your point of being a first-generation immigrant, being frugal, I did save for a rainy day, and if ever there was a rainy day, it's today, right? All I got to do is stick my head out and I come back drenched. So it is raining cats and dogs out there, and absent the good fortune and the good lessons, I think I'll be sort of washed away in the rainy day.
So optimistic note, thank you very much. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.